Hi, okay, welcome to session 9. Well done. You've made it a long way into the course now. We've been doing a lot of work, so keep it up. It's going really, really well. We are going to be learning about negative numbers and BIDMAS today. So something that's really important is I've done it all into the one video, but you don't have to. If you want to do this and see this as 2 sessions, please do. It's your learning, your pace, so you do what's right for you. I just chose to put the whole thing into the one video. We've got our normal recap. Hopefully we're starting to feel a lot more confident now about some of the work that we've got here. Please don't skip it because it's getting samey or whatever. It really is the thing that makes the difference. It gets that memory forming, and it's so important. So hit pause, have a go at those questions, and then press play when you're ready. All right, there are all the work solutions. So what I'd like you to do is just hit pause, go through what you've done, and then hit play when you're ready. Okay, so the main thing that I wanted to point out was the question here. I put that in, it's new, you hadn't seen it was powers before, and I think that's really an important part of what we do in these courses. We just keep introducing new things so that we don't get in a comfort zone and then not know what to do when something different comes along. Now you'll notice that the p squared hasn't actually changed, and it's really, really common when you see this for the first time to want to put a 4 for the power. So if you did that, know that you've done something that's really, really normal, and actually just be proud that you gave the question a good old go when it was something you hadn't seen before, because that's what it's really about, just trying and not just stopping because it looks different. So why hasn't it changed? It's I think really if you just keep it simple in your head rather than worry too much about all the massive amount of math sometimes it goes on, you haven't questioned the p changing if it's just a normal p or just a normal x or just a normal a. Yeah, if I've got an a and I add another a, I've got 2 a's. That a, that letter hasn't changed in the slightest. It started as an a in the question and it finished as an a in the answer. And the p squared does the exact same thing. If I've got a p squared and I then have another p squared and put them together, I've got 2p squareds. The letter, even though it's got a power on it, isn't changing. It's just how many I've got of them that is, and that's always the number in front. So p squareds, a squareds, squareds will stay squareds, all right, and they don't actually change. The other one that I was going to talk through is this one here. If you don't need that talk through, then obviously please just skip onto the lesson. If you did go wrong, but the answer is clear to you, then again, skip on. If you want to listen through on how to do this type of question, I'm going to do that quickly now, and I'll do it here on the original question. So again, with these types of diagrams, we are really having to not think about the X as much as thinking about what it is I'm looking at. What is all the information in detail in that diagram that I know, that I have the knowledge of? So what am I looking at is the first thing I start thinking. And I'm looking at this. They've given me this angle here, which probably means it's going to help me solve the problem. It's quite a long way away from the X. I can also see these lines. So I know I'm looking at an isosceles triangle. So where do I start? I could start here because I can see that's on a straight line. I could highlight my isosceles. I think I'm going to start here. There's no rule to that. People do what people see first. Angles can often be done in lots of different ways. So I know that that has to be 70. I know it's 70 because I'm on a straight line, and that has to add up to 180. Highlighting my lines and putting my arrowheads on, I can see that the bottom 2 are the equal to, which would mean that's 70 as well. The 70s add up to 140. The triangle is 180. So when you take that away, you get your X equaling 40 degrees. Okay, so hopefully that has helped. Okay, so we're going to look at negative numbers. Now, we've already looked at directed numbers, which aren't technically what we're going to be doing today. I'm saying that in a hesitant kind of way, aren't I? We are going to see it. We are going to see it. But directed numbers is a slightly different topic to negative numbers. Negative numbers will have some rules attached to them. And when we were doing our negative numbers, so let me remind you, if we had -3, -2, we weren't talking about rules. We literally said, right, I'm at -3 on the number line. I'm going to go down a further 2. My answer is -5. And we certainly were not thinking about the signs any more than a starting point and a movement either up or down that number line. But when we get questions that look like this, then I have a problem. Because if I'm thinking about my directed numbers, I'm at 5 and then it says add. So up I go, but no, hang on a minute, it says take away. So down I go. And what do you want me to do? It's all very confusing. So we don't allow this situation. We don't allow a double kind of operation movement, however you want to look at it. We don't allow that to go on. So what we're going to do to fix this is we're going to put a ring around it. That is not okay. 2 signs side by side that I could put a circle around is not okay. And it needs to change to just 1 sign. So what does a plus and a minus give me? I think of it like this. If there's 1 negative in the ring, the combination, the question, then there's 1 in the answer. So if there's 1 negative, then there's 1 in the answer. This becomes 5 minus 1, which is 4. Okay, so I'm just going to keep that and we'll do another question. So what about 6 minus -4? Well, I've got that double sign that I could put a ring around. This time, however, there is not just 1 negative. So I need to consider what happens when there's 2. So when there's 2 negatives, they can come together and they can make a plus sign. Okay, so the 2 negatives can make a plus. And that's what we have going on here. The 2 negatives make a plus. So my question is actually 6 plus 4, which is 10. So the problem that often arises is once we realize or learn about the fact that negative numbers has rules, we start wanting to use them all the time. So I go back to our question here, our directed numbers. People start to want to use the rules here. But it would be wrong to use the rules here. So how can we tell? How can we know? How can we be sure that we're using them when we're supposed to? And the ring is, as much as you think you don't need it, can be a really, really great way of helping you not make mistakes. Because if I was to try and put a ring around these 2 signs, I've gone and put a 3, there's a 3 in that circle as well. Okay, so that's not just 2 signs in a circle, which means it doesn't count. It means that we're not going to use the rules here. We can't use the rules here because we don't just have 2 signs in a circle. So if you made that your habit, if you made that the thing you do, then when you go to do it here, your alarm bells will start to ring. You're like, no, that's not right. And you'll know not to use it. Okay. So let's have a little go at a couple of questions. I think I'll just clean the board up completely now. So have a go for me at this one. So pause and press play when you're ready. Okay, so we've got 1 negative in the question. So 6 minus 7 is -1. If that went well, well done. Let's do another one. There we go. Hit pause, press play when you're ready. Okay, I can put a ring around this. 1 negative in the question, 1 in the answer. So 3 minus 4, -1 again. Okay, let's do another one. Press play when you're ready. Okay, so I've got two negatives, that makes a plus. So actually the question is 5 plus 7, which is 12. Well done if you got that one right. And one more before you go into practice. Hit pause, press play when you're ready. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier. There seems to be a lot of signs going on. Just remember, we only want to ring the ones that will fit together inside a circle. There's one negative there, so there's one in my question. So actually the question is -3, -6. Now it's just a directed question. So it can come up in this topic, as I said right at the beginning. So I'm at -3, I'm going to minus another 6 down the number line. I'm going to end up at -9. And by all means, draw a number line if that is going to help you. Okay, whatever you need to do, you should do to help you. All right. Okay, so here are your questions. I want you to hit pause and press play when you're ready. Okay, here are your answers. Okay, so we are going to now look at what happens when we multiply and divide with negative numbers. Okay, so let's give ourselves a question and take a little look at it. So we've got -3 times -4. Now, if I go for the whole ring idea, I'm going to do that. It's going to be a big circle to get both those negatives into. And I'm going to have that times and I'm going to have that number, and that's always going to happen. I'm actually never, ever going to be able to put a ring around just the two signs and nothing else. So ringing is not the way for these particular type of questions. The ring is really about helping us make sure we are using the rules when we should be and when we shouldn't be. Here, we always use them because they will never touch. So it's either never use them or always use them. So we always use them. The best way to do this is to just ignore them, I think, to start off with. Just concentrate on the numbers. You've got 3 times 4, which is equal to 12. And then you've got two negatives in the question. That is going to make a plus. 12 is already positive. So we're done. And that is it, really. Okay, so let's do another one. -7 times 2. So if I ignore the signs for the moment and just do the numbers, 7 times 2 is 14. And then there's one negative in the question. So there's one in the answer. And that's the simplest way to do it. If you want to, you could say, right, there's a negative on the 7, the 2 is positive. So you can do this if you want to, but it's probably just as easy to just go by eye. I can see one negative, so there's one in the answer. All right. And that's pretty much it. Whether it's a times or a divide, it follows the same rules. So let's do a divide question, but you can have a go at this. All right. So we're going to do 40 divided by -10. I want you to hit pause, press play when you're ready. Okay, so if I just do the numbers, 40 divided by 10, how many 10s in 40? It's 4. There's one negative in the question, so there's one in the answer. And if you've got that right, well done. So -15 divided by -3. Hit pause, press play when you're ready. Okay, how many 3s in 15? 5. And then two negatives make a positive. Okay, next question is -6 times 4. Hit pause, press play when you're ready. Okay, so I've got 6 times 4, which is 24, and there's one negative in the question, so there's one in the answer. Okay, so you're going to do me a little bit of practice. That's these ones here. There we go. Hit pause and press play when you're ready to see the answers. And there's your answers. And now we're going to do ourselves a little bit of BIDMAS. So if you are keen to take a break, please do, and come back to this as a second lesson, because it's quite a lot to do in one lesson. If you're sticking with me, all right, then just if you do start to fade a little, or you don't feel like you're concentrating as well as you normally do, then take that break. I think it's really, really important. So we're looking at BIDMAS. Now, BIDMAS is really, really important in maths. It tells us the order that we have to do things in. When we read a book, we literally just read across left to right, read. And it's really tempting to do our maths in the exact same way, but we absolutely cannot, okay? We have to solve our problems in a particular order, and BIDMAS helps us remember that order. So when we learn BIDMAS, we kind of may not realize that it comes up all over the place. So we learn BIDMAS as a topic, which is what we're going to do now. But as our maths progresses, you start seeing BIDMAS come up in algebra and, you know, places where you're least likely to expect it. So it's really, really important that we understand what we're doing here. So let's write the word first of all. So you've got BIDMAS, which stands for brackets. I've got division, multiply, add, and subtract. Now the I stands for indices or powers. Obviously I stand, you know, it works best for indices, but they're the same thing. And that's when you've got a number that's raised to a power, like power 2, like n squared. That doesn't have to be 2, it could be a cubed, it could be to the power 4, to the 5. I've just put a 2 on because that's what we're most familiar with, and it'll help us remember. So if I've got a question, like, let's say I've got 2 plus 3 times 5. If I was to do this question by just reading across, just reading along, I would end up getting, well, I would have 2 plus 3, which is 6, and 6 times 5, sorry, 2 plus 3 is 6. 2 plus 3 is 5 even, and then 5 times 5 is 25. That is not the right answer because we're not following the rules and the order of BIDMAS. And if you've never heard of BIDMAS, then you'd think you'd be doing it right, wouldn't you? So this is how we do it. We take a look at the operations that we've actually got in our question, and we go up and find them in the word. So I've got an add and I've got a multiplier. But when I look at this word, multiply comes first, then it's addition. So when I'm doing this question, multiply comes first. So I'm going to be doing 3 times 5 before I even worry about the add. So 3 5s are 15. Now note that I've popped that straight underneath. Yeah, it's still on the end. I haven't used the plus, haven't used the 2. So I'm going to bring those down to join it. Once there is just that one operation, I can just finish it off. And I've got the answer as 17, which is the correct. You can see they're completely different, aren't they? So it's really, really important that we do know how to apply our BIDMAS to our questions so that we can get them right. Okay, so let's clean this up and give you another question. So we've got 5 plus 6 divided by 2 this time. So the way that I would encourage this is you would write down your word, BIDMAS, highlight, you've got add and divide. So you've got add and divide, and you can see divide is coming up first. So we do that first. 6 divided by 2. How many 2s in 6? 3. Bring down the plus, bring down the 5, keep everything in its position, and that's going to equal 8. All right, let's see another one. I've got 3 minus 4 times 9. So I'm going to write my word. And I'm going to have a little look at what I've got. So clearly I've got brackets, I've got a take away, and I've got a times. So the first thing to do with the brackets are actually there forcing me to do the subtraction first. That's kind of what the brackets do. They can help me do things in a different order to the word itself. Because I've got to do the brackets first, it means I've got to do 3 take 4. 3 take 4 is -1. Still got the times sign, still got the 9. And then I just finish that off. And you can see how those negatives can come in just at any point in our maths. So I'm going to ignore it. 1 times 9 is 9. And then I've got 1 negative in the question. So there's 1 in the answer. So how do you know when to use BIDMAS? All right. How do you know? And the answer to that is when you have got more than one operation. If I've just got 5 plus 2, I just do it, don't I? If I've got, I don't know, 7 times 4, I just do it. But the minute I've got 7 times 4 divided by 2, I've got to stop and think. All right. So let's have a go. So this time you're going to be hitting pause and pressing play. So we've got 4 plus 8 divided by 2. Hit pause, press play when you're ready. Okay, so I'm going to write my BIDMAS. Going to highlight, I've got an add and a divide. There we go. Divide is getting done first. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Still got that plus, still got that 4. And 4 plus 4 is 8. So if you got that right, well done. Here's your next one. Pause and press play when you're ready. Okay, so I've got brackets, an add and a divide. Brackets have to be done first, so that's going to give me 15. I've still got the divide, I've still got the 5. So that plus just got done when we did the brackets. So it just magically kind of sorted it. How many 5s in 15? 3. Okay, let's do another one. We've got 7 times 2 plus 5 squared. Hit pause and press play when you're ready. Okay, I've got a times, an add, and a power. There we go, all highlighted, so I can see the power needs to be done first. So that's going to give me 5 times 5. Do remember, it's 5 times 5 and not 5 times 2. Really common for people to do that. Haven't used the plus yet, haven't used the 2, haven't used the time. So you can see that when there's quite a lot going on, I do one thing and then I rewrite. I do one thing and then I rewrite. I'm less likely to make mistakes if I do that. So I've done the power. The next thing, so I've done that one. The next thing is the multiply. The multiply is actually here. So 7 times 2 is 14. I've still got the plus and I've got my 25. Now I'm down to that one operation. I can just go straight through and add that. And we are job done. Okay. So we're going to look at one that's slightly different, just because I don't like to not extend. If this is particularly tricky, then really just concentrate on your BIDMAS. Get that right, because you can bring this in at a later stage anyway. It's not like you've got to be able to do everything all at once. So I'm going to give this, throw it out to you if you like. We'll see how we get on with it. So it is different. What I want you to do is I want you to put brackets in to make the statement true. And I'm just going to write true to save some time, to make true. And this is what we want to make true. We've been given 6 times 2 times 3 plus 4 equals 60. So they're telling us what they want it to equal. it currently doesn't work, and we need brackets in there somewhere to pull this whole thing together and make it equal 60. So it's up to you. You can either hit that pause and play around with this. Just see how you get on with it. I would love it if you did that. If you're really, really not sure and you just want it as a walkthrough, then that is fine. So if you're hitting pause, go for it now. Okay, now the best way to do this type of question is through trial and improvement, okay? So I'm going to try something. If it gets me the answer first time, happy days. If it doesn't, I just improve. I just think again, try something else. So I'm going to, because I know that multiplying in our world of BIDMAS is going to come before the adding anyway, it feels like I need to get that adding done first. So I'm going to pop my brackets in here, and I'm going to see what that actually gives me. So 3 plus 4 is 7. I've still got the times, the 2, the times, and the 6. Now, because that's all times, I can just get on with it. So 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 7 is 84. So that's not where the brackets are going to go. So I'm going to have to try something else. And there's no like right or wrong way here. You can be systematic in your approach, which is what I'm going to be. So I kind of still feel like the add has to be in there somehow. So I'm going to have that add, but now I'm going to stretch back and include an extra number as well. So here in this bracket, which I've got to do first, and I'm going to write my BIDMAS here. Now, I've got that in my brackets to consider. In my brackets, I've got a times and an add. So I must be really careful to make sure that I get this all done properly. 2 times 3 is 6. I've still got the plus and the 4. And technically, I've still got the brackets, haven't I? 6 plus 4 is 10. Now I'm down to a single number. The brackets are done. Everything's done. So all I've got left is that times sign there and my 6. And 6 times 10 is 60. 60 is what I wanted it to equal. So that is the correct placement of my brackets. So I have chucked one of these into your practice questions. And like I say, it's really, it can be optional. We are stretching ourselves outside of that grade 2. I think it's worth it if you're finding BIDMAS fairly straightforward to have that challenge. So really is your decision. All right. So those are the questions that you're going to practice. I will put the answers up in a sec, and then I will see you next time. So well done for today.